Let's talk about all the terrible policies that have led us to a place where the economy is in many regards teetering on an edge of a crash that will make Monday's action on global markets seem like child's play. Warren Buffett has moved billions of dollars into cash over the past few weeks. He knew this was coming. He was preparing for it. He was among those that believe what we're seeing is just the beginning of a real economic upheaval. Don't let the market downturn distract you from several big facts that'll let us to this point, however. Let's talk about those things, all right? Number one, inflation has been at or above 3% for 39 straight months and counting. Two, a record number of Americans are working multiple jobs and still struggling to survive because of the high cost of living. Three, 9%, fully 9% of credit card balances became delinquent over just the last year. Think about that. Almost 1 in 10 credit cards delinquent as we sit here today. The housing market, affordability neared record lows. Mortgage demand is at its lowest level in 30 years. The average mortgage has gone through the roof, is now $3,600 a month. That's right, $3,600. Renters paying an average of $1,800 a month. And yes, that is the average. The U.S. dollar has lost 25% of its purchasing power in just the last 4 years. This is not going to be a soft landing. We are in for a financial reckoning, the likes of which we have not seen in a very long time, if ever. I believe it could make 2008 and 2009 look like a walk in the park. And every single bit of this has a name. Bidenomics. Bidenomics. But now we can call it something new. Kamalanomics. By the way, if you missed it, Kamala Harris, overnight, in the middle of the night, was nominated and became the official Democrat nominee for president. Happened just a few hours ago. So Kamalanomics, right? She's ridden shotgun the whole way. And while retirements are being eaten up by inflation and young people can't afford to buy a house and maybe never will, Kamala has been singing the praises of all the failed policies put into place with her riding shotgun the whole way. So let's review Bidenomics, where we were, where we are now. Listen.
Bidenomics is working.
We're doing great. It's wonderful. The stock market is surging.
We have never been down 1,000 points ever, not even intraday on the NASDAQ.
Is that true?
That is true.
Okay. Down 6% right from the get-go. This is heavy big tech. Here we go. Look at them go down.
Dow Jones is down about 1,010 points. It's about 2.5%. We've been watching this all morning. The plummet is fueling fears of recession amid a global market meltdown.
All red right now. I mean, look, this is all about uncertainty. That jobs report, it spurred fears the Fed has waited too long to cut rates and that we could be entering that recession territory.
And Bidenomics is working.
And Bidenomics is working, is it? Kamala Harris's comprehensive plan included her tie-breaking vote on several pieces of key legislation as the sitting vice president in the Senate. And she was heavily involved in other big pieces of legislation like the Inflation Reduction Act. And yet, as I just outlined, inflation remains above 3%. The cost of groceries and gas and the monthly power bill have all gone up. But she says she's ready to take control of the American economy. And I want you to hear it point by point, so that you have confidence that Kamala is not just some empty vessel, but someone who has a clear understanding of economics and how to get America back on track. Here's Kamala's comprehensive plan for the American economy. Listen closely.
What else are you going to do to fix this problem with inflation?
All right, thank you. Well, let's start with this. Prices have gone up. And families and individuals are dealing with the realities of that bread costs more, that gas costs more. And we have to understand what that means. That's about the cost of living going up. That's about having to stress and stretch limited resources. That's about a source of stress for families that is not only economic, but is on a daily level, something that is a heavy weight to carry. So it is something that we take very seriously, very seriously. And we know from the history of this issue in the United States that when you see these prices go up, it has a direct impact on the quality of life for all people in our country. So it's a big issue, and we take it seriously. And it is a priority, therefore.
They take it seriously, and it's a priority. That was the comprehensive plan. Babble. Babbling is the comprehensive plan for Kamala Harris. Truly frightening. I mean, this person has not one clue about what she is doing or what she should do about the economy or anything else for that matter. No, if elected, God help us, she will rely on the same monetary geniuses that brought us this mess we're in right now. They will demand more money is printed, more taxes are raised, that means charged to you, and more people are given government checks, whether they're citizens or not, and more people are buying into the bizarre idea that you will own nothing and you will be happy. The strange New Age socialist idea being pushed upon us by the World Economic Forum and the puppet masters that gather in places like Davos every year. And don't forget that wealthy and successful people are, by definition, evil, should be punished for doing well themselves. Really is quite something to witness. The same people that can watch Keynesian economics fail over and over again and still cling to the idea that somehow, if we just continue to print money and spend it all, that it will miraculously work this time around. It is the definition of insanity, and all part of the Democrat cult that is brainwashing tens of millions of Americans. I mean, the economy doesn't actually matter, you know. What really matters is someone's gender and race. Whether or not they have a skill set to navigate these dangerous times is completely irrelevant. Identity politics is the key to everything. It's all that matters. And that's why the DEI hire that Kamala Harris is so important. And if that offends you in some way, I don't care. Because I am not the one that was yelling it from the mountaintop. No, that came from such conservative outlets as MSNBC. If you missed it, let me remind you, here it is.
In fact, there's some reporting from Axios this morning that suggests Joe Biden is down to two, Kamala Harris and Susan Rice. But in your piece, you write, don't forget about Elizabeth Warren. Do you think she's still in this conversation?
I don't really, Willie. I think that she really did herself well during the campaign. I think she's been a big ally and an important ally during the recent months on the policy side. I just think at the end of the day that that Joe Biden is going to pick a woman of color and that he'd get a lot of blowback if he didn't. And he doesn't need a lot of blowback right now. That's what he can't afford. That's what I mean by rock the boat. So I think Susan Rice or Kamala Harris would both be great picks. I've said for a long time that I think Kamala Harris is the strongest in the strongest position just because she checks so many boxes. You know, sort of like I think about being at the horse track and checking the racing form.
But after George Floyd's killing, there was certainly a shift in the Biden camp to needing, to wanting to pick a woman of color for that slot for the VP pick. Our reporting lines up with Axios.
Yeah.